how we'll make use of it. Like I was introduced, I'm an engineer. I have my management education. I have my technology experience. I have my management experience. I have done my PhD in innovation. I'm a fellow of Institute of Engineers. The more important point is I have tried to put my experience in different forms and shape, and also I'm on LinkedIn if you want to connect with me with the same name that you see above, Sudeendra Koushik. So I'd be happy to connect. And a couple of years since, we used to have a request for a short course on innovation and entrepreneurship, which we'll talk about. It's also on Udemy if you would like to see it, which is a conglomeration of our experience in the past, but also currently as Prasu, we work with major companies in the industry, very good institutes like yours in the academic world. In the academic world, we also have syllabus for these topics on entrepreneurship, on innovation and entrepreneurship. We have the book we showed is what we use in the academia world for syllabus. And startups, we work with, we started with many startups, and we'll touch upon that topic. We still work with some good startups as well. Some of the companies we work with are this, and some of the experience I'm going to share are coming from these companies as well. So if you see, they are the best in the world that you can see. And some of the institutes, next time I would like, maybe I'll add your institute as well, because now we have started working together, which is the reason this question is more important today, because in the past, maybe the student's perspective, your parents, it was mostly given that they have to be an employee unless you are in a family of businessmen or traders, right? But today it's not the case. A doctor can be an entrepreneur, a businessman's son can be an employee, and so on. So any combination is possible. It looks like this. It is actually not the same at all. Being an entrepreneur is very different from being an employee. And actually they are separate tracks. Of course, there might be some links which might make it look like this, but that's more notional and minimal than otherwise. So what I want to do today is to make you understand. So I believe today's learning is not about teaching, but it's about what we learn. And hence, this is not a decision that you make saying, okay, now Sudeendra Koushik sir has told we'll go this route or that route. I'm the last person to say that, because the learning comes when we think and apply it and make a decision ourselves. Okay. Simple example, if we give you a teaching on different types of screws and different types of screwdrivers, the day you decide which screw it is and which screwdriver to use, you have learned it. That has to be done in the absence of the teacher. So today, the main thing I want to say is, it is not a simple this way or that way choice that you think you can get it from me. You might get it yourself. That's fantastic. But I'm not going to spoon feed you, because it takes a little bit of what I call the 4 steps of learning is, first is to understand. But to understand, we need to know what we don't know. Many of us get into a rut because we limit our world to what we know, not what exists outside. Okay. So today we are a little bit discussing about what we don't know. Using that, we understand. Then you need to do 2 things after today, which is to validate. And then finally, that's why it's in capitals, you will decide. Now, when you get feedback, when you get advice, it is not the responsibility of the person giving you the advice to make a decision for you. Don't expect, because the moment you can decide, you have already had the learning. So I'm sure all of you are very smart, otherwise you will not be in Shastra. And having been there, now you have the potential to make good decisions, and you can always go back and change your decision as well. For these 2, you can be an employee in a small firm, okay, small company. Your employer can be small. Your employer can be large. Example, maybe you work in a bakery which is about 5 people, okay, as an employee, or you could work in an Infosys or a General Motors, which is a huge employer, or a Philips. Okay. Similarly, as an entrepreneur, you can start small and you can remain small. Okay. A shopkeeper in the end of your street is an entrepreneur. and he will remain with one shop and one person running it. It's okay. But as an entrepreneur, you can also become the head of the large firm. Maybe it goes back to the first line above, which is in turn hiring more employees as such. You can be small, you can be large in both cases. Now you have three choices, and I'll come to the reasons for that. First one is being an entrepreneur, which is pretty hyped or maybe overhyped. 3 days ago, I was having a chat with some professionals in Europe and US, a global forum. I was talking about it, and we came to this point that don't try to make everyone an entrepreneur. Okay, technically speaking, if there are 100 students in Shastra and all of them become entrepreneurs, who will work for you, right? So you need them. So it's not that everybody should be an employee or an entrepreneur. You need to understand some people are more, tuned to that. The second one is being an employee. Okay, and we'll discuss the differences in a moment. The third one is an interesting paradigm that has come up in the recent years. If you type this word in Microsoft Word, it will show you as a spelling mistake, which is called intrapreneur. This is a very interesting topic. So it's a role, it's a profile which is in between that of an employee's profile and that of an entrepreneur's profile. In other words, intrapreneur is an entrepreneur within a reasonably large organization. So there are some benefits of employee and some benefits of entrepreneur in this role. Okay, so these three are the main directions you can take. Now, where does this all start? It all starts with education. Okay, don't confuse education with literacy. Knowing how to read and write is not education. Education is knowing something. With that education, you get some experience. With that experience, you can develop expertise. Okay, the 3 E's of the 4 E are covered here. Usually, with education, you can get a job, whether it's a small firm like we discussed or a large firm, it doesn't matter. With experience, you can become an entrepreneur. Now comes the question, can we not become an entrepreneur directly after education? Definitely yes. But the point is, different surveys have indicated that experience makes you a better entrepreneur. It does not guarantee anything, but it says certain amount of experience helps you become a better entrepreneur. And there is a reason for that. The reason is simple. When we come out of college, let me take example of your student branch. Professor Bala, Dr. Ramya, Jaideepan, etc., and Anmol and others, they are dealing with people, not just their work. They're running a student branch. They're running webinars. So what happens is they are getting experience of how to deal with people. They don't know me personally, but they made an effort to bring people together. They had to deal with people. Now that experience is helping them. Now, when you're in college, that experience is very limited. The exposure to real world is very limited. I'm in the academic council of many universities like yours. So I was in an academic council meeting on Saturday, where I said the same thing. Now you cannot make someone an internship as a routine thing. Internship is for understanding how real world works, how real businesses work. Okay, so that experience is limited in education. Hence, it can be a deterrent to being a fast-track entrepreneur. But experience has shown, different surveys, that some amount of experience working in a company will help you become a better entrepreneur. But if you are expert in something which takes many years to develop, you can be a consultant, which is a kind of entrepreneur, but a very niche specific thing. For example, I am a consultant in innovation for universities to run incubation centers, to run syllabus, to run academic council, board of studies, etc. So these are the different stages that you need to understand. So being an entrepreneur is an option. Okay, don't think because there is a lot of talk about startup, you should be doing. That is herd mentality. That is never, herd mentality never helps you to become who you are. Okay, unless you get lucky, which most of us the time we don't. And like I said, intrapreneur is between employee and entrepreneur. You are given freedom, you are having options, but you are still an employee of a company. But now the fourth E is the most important E for me. To do any of this effectively, Experience is time. Okay, after 10 years, all of us will be 10 years more experienced, right? Because 10 years has passed. But what is the relevant experience in that 10 years? You might be doing the same thing for 10 years. I left a company in 2005 and met somebody from that company in 2018 in a friend's wedding. So I asked him, he was my junior there. I asked him, how are you doing? He said, sir, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm getting a little bit more salary. So for 13 years, he has been doing the same thing. Now, that's not the real term, real expression of experience. That's what I call the fourth E, the exposure. I have to congratulate again the team, because today's team who are involved in organizing this have got a unique exposure which is not gotten by the people who are not involved in organizing this. Working with me, working with Google Meet, working with this. How did you think somebody gave me the suggestion to log out of IEEE ID and log in with Gmail ID? It is not just accidents, because there is an exposure that they've got how to run a Google Meet webinar. So this exposure meaning you have to do the right things with the right people. I thank Bala for initiating the talk about your student chapter. IEEE chapter is one such thing. It brings you in contact with the right people. In IEEE, all of us are equal. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or what you do, right? From last 4 years, I have met every single IEEE president in Bangalore. I've taken them around in my car. I've taken the executive. It's not big because it's the exposure I allowed myself to take. So you have to give yourself the opportunity to get exposed to the right things. That happens by being part of things like IEEE. I was talking before the webinar that TEMS is Technology and Engineering Management Society, is the only society which gives you this exposure for interdisciplinary topics. What we're talking today is very interdisciplinary topic. After this comes an Elon Musk, after this comes a Bill Gates, after this comes an Ellison, after this comes somebody else, right? So you need to understand that being part of IEEE or being part of TEMS is very important. So just I'll take this opportunity to encourage all of you, work with Anmol and Bala to get yourself IEEE TEMS started, because this will give you exposure. Today, I have friends all over the world because of IEEE exposure. Turkey, Italy, Egypt, you name it. It's just a matter of one WhatsApp away. That's because of exposure that IEEE TEMS gives you, okay? If you look at it, future skills of World Economic Forum, you don't have to go through everything. The right side is what was projected in 2015 for the 5 years and what is projected in 2020 for the next 5 years. Look at the top 3-4 skills: complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, and people management, right? What was number 1 and number 2? The 1 has remained, but the 2 has become 5th, right? So you need to lead. And the same one, in another way, they have said, what are the growing and declining? The key is this: analytical thinking and innovation. This is common for an employee or an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter whether you work for someone or you work for yourself, right? Like I said, it's an interdisciplinary exposure. We are used to this fact that if I take this horizontal blue line, it's all the courses that our universities offer, whether it is Shastra or VTU or anybody. We have different disciplines: mechanical, civil, industrial, production, computer science, information science, E&C, E&E, and so on. So we pick a branch and we become so-called deep in that. So this is called a T model. Okay, T model because it looks like T-shape. We get a discipline and we go deep into it. Now pause for a moment and think. I'll give you 2 examples. The car, today's car, a new car, I'm not even talking about electric car, normal car. Is it a mechanical product or an electrical software product? 60% of it is electronics and software today. Okay, so it's not an embedded product, it's a interdisciplinary, interdomain product. A mobile phone or a CT scanner, which is so crucial in making decisions for health. It's not a medical device. It's an electronic device. It's a computer imaging. It's AI. It's everything. Mechanical, design, everything. So that means interdisciplinary is the way forward. So your knowledge now should not be in one area. It should be in different areas. Now, the slanting line shows that you have different depth of knowledge in different topics. I should know mechanical engineering. I should know malleability. I should know computer science. I should know AI. I should do different depths. Okay. And this is what is going to make you, whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee, it's going to make you successful. You need to develop, come out of this model, T model to a V model, where I have subscribed myself to learn R, not for anything, just for the heck of it. Okay. Today it's R, tomorrow it might be something else. This might change tomorrow. What you learn today may not be useful tomorrow. A normal car has 1800 moving parts. Electric car has 18 moving parts. So do you call it a mechanical car or an electric car? Right? So that is a change you're talking about. So you guys, before you come out and start looking yourself with a job or a startup, you need to understand agriculture. Whatever you take today is interdisciplinary. Multiple domains, as we know in our college, is included in that. That's where I talked about TEMS. We have a lot of things, different people who are authority in their own spaces talking about things. You can look it up on TEMS as well. You will find it. I just gave a sample of it so that you can see it later. The key is then the difference is in the mindset. Okay, an employee, an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur. There is quite a difference in how they see things. Okay. But they choose between basically two tracks, risk or opportunity. An entrepreneur, even a COVID-like situation, classical entrepreneurs see it as an opportunity. I was talking to somebody in April when this whole COVID started, when the lockdown happened. I was talking in Bangalore. I was saying, you know what, these auto rickshaw fellows in Bangalore, I think they should start thinking differently. They should use their autos for something else when the lockdown is over. Today they sell, many of them are selling fruits, vegetables and whatnot. So they see opportunity. An employee always sees it as a risk. I already see on my LinkedIn every day somebody saying, I am out of my job, get me a job please. I got in WhatsApp today afternoon, very senior person, 24 years experience. He said, I'm very embarrassed, but I need a job. So the whole point is different people, their natural response is different. No, if you are a person who sees risk, you cannot become a person who sees opportunity. You'll be very uncomfortable. If you are a person who is seeing opportunity, you cannot continue in a company doing the same thing without risk, right? An entrepreneur, of course, is in between, a certain amount of risk, a certain amount of opportunity. Those who know finance world a little bit, risk is like stocks. Opportunity is what you call a benefit that you get. So the risk and reward goes together. So an employee is willing to take low risk with low reward, which is coming up. I'm going to explain that. An entrepreneur is going for high risk and high reward. Okay. But you have to start here. What you can do and what you want to do. Don't think they are the same. Don't ever think they are the same at all. Ask your professors, ask your friends, ask people who see you from outside what you think you can do. A Virendra Sehwag was not an opener. A Sachin Tendulkar was not a batsman. The coach said, Sachin, you are too short to bowl fast, you better become a batsman. And R. Ashwin, you might know, was trying to be a fast bowler. They said, no, you better start bowling spin. So somebody else might know what you can do better than what you think you can do. What you can do versus what you want to do can be a big starting point for you to understand your journey to become an employer or entrepreneur. The value you bring is the combination where these two Venn diagrams meet. While what you want to do depends on your natural abilities, your personality, your temperament. You're a very calm and cool person. Maybe service, maybe customers management, maybe hospitality, different kinds of jobs. What you can do is skills. You get trained. I mean, if I have a different kind, in NCC, they should not take people with, crooked feet because they cannot run. But what you can do depends on what you learn, what you train, what you educate yourself for. But what you want to do is what you're born with as a ability to do certain things, right? Now, if that is the case, let us look at this. This was from inside out. Now I'm going to show outside in. I am from the industry and I'm going to give the outside in view. What do you offer and what is needed? So what do you as a person offer in terms of skills or work or whatever, expertise? What is needed by the industry, market, company, etc. It's a very interesting paradigm for you to explore. That's why I said don't jump to conclude, because all this you need to know, because day after tomorrow you might not know why you chose to become what you need to become. And before 10 years would have passed, then you say, no, now I'm married with kids, I cannot change anymore. The biggest excuse given by people who don't want to take risk. Okay. The combination is an employee offers something to an employer, right? So the employer looks for something, the employer needs something on the left side, and the employee offers something that the employee is looking for. Suppose you join a software company. On the left side, an employer is a software company. What they need is somebody who can do programming. Right side, you as an employee offer programming. That is an overlap area right in the middle here, right? But you can also sing. You can also play cricket. You can also play keyboard. They are not interested in it. They are not hiring you for that. So what you offer should coincide with what they need. Understood? Now comes the other part. If you are an entrepreneur, what you offer is to make what the market needs. This is very interesting because now in the case of an employee, the employer has figured out what the market needs. As an entrepreneur, you have to figure out what the market needs. Are you clear? It's a very subtle but very basic difference. Somebody else has made the decision what the market needs. Now, as an entrepreneur, what you need to do is to understand the market yourself. Okay. Now, value is the key. But when you say value, there are two perspectives, seller and buyer. Let's assume you're going to buy mangoes. Suppose you're a buyer of a mango, you look for cost, you look for quality, you look for how good the mango is, etc. As a seller, I want to sell more. I don't want to have backlog. I want to get rid of yesterday's stock, etc., etc. Very different things are important to both of us as a buyer and seller. But when you buy a mango or something, you give something and you get something. Both the seller and the buyer. The seller gives mango and he gets something. The buyer gives something and gets mango. Okay. So usually as a seller, he gets money. So if you think you are a seller, you get money, for which in return you don't give mango. Please understand this concept well. People don't buy mango because you are selling mango. People buy mango because they think eating mango is valuable to them. That's what is called what's in it for me. I don't pay because I see you selling mango and I want to buy from you. No, I buy mango because I want mango. Okay. Now, as a seller, I want to give value through mango. As a buyer, you give something and you get something. So if you understand what it is you are buying mango, so you're getting mango and you are giving money, which is what the. Now if you see this clearly, what you get and what you give between the buyer and seller matches perfectly, and that's when a deal happens. If what you want to give as a seller is what the buyer wants to get, you have a match. If what you want to get as a seller is what the buyer wants to give, you have a match. Right? This is the essence of being successful, whether as an employee or as an entrepreneur, because value is in where these two things meet. Okay. Now, what's in it for me means different things for both of them. When you give and you get money is time in case of an employee. You get paid salary. That's what you get as an employee. What you give your time. Except COVID times, you used to go to the office, you used to stay there. Many standard offices are 9 hours, blah, blah, blah. So spend time of 9 hours, you come back and then you're done, right? That is the case of an employee. But as an entrepreneur, you will get money, you will get funding, you will get inputs, you will get advice, many things more. But you have to give more than time. You cannot just come back from your office and from your factory office, whatever it is, and say, I'm done and I'm going to open it tomorrow again. No. Let us understand this, how this works. On the x-axis is what you give. On the y-axis is what you get. You might think it is like this, that it is linear. It is not linear. It is not at all linear. Linearity is only in the book. Okay, the more you give, the more you get. May be true, but not always. This is a graph that happens for a general employee. Okay, you get off your career, everything looks fine. Year on year, you get bigger. Suppose you start with 10,000. After 4 years, you're at 50,000. So at 10,000, giving you 10% increment is good. It's 1,000. At 4 years, when you're at 50,000, giving you 10% is 5,000. Okay, so it starts to reduce, and you start to taper off. There might be some good here and there, but roughly, this is the how what you get goes with an employee. But with an entrepreneur, the next 3 lines can be anything. You might lose in the beginning as an entrepreneur, and then you go skyrocket. WhatsApp within 1 year, $1 billion deal. Okay, or it could take off very slowly and it may never make it, and finally you have to shut shop. Or it may go linearly and suddenly there is a good timing, good window, good opportunity, boom, it goes up. Anything can happen. This is the life or expectation of an entrepreneur. Now you need to think, what do you think you deserve? Like I told you, because it's your decision. Don't blame anyone. He said, she said, my mother said, my mother's father said, don't want nothing. You are an adult. You have the ability to think, and you should think what you deserve. Okay. Now, in between these 3 of what you want to do, what you are supposed to do, which is the job description if you're an employee or an entrepreneur, what you cannot do in terms of your responsibilities. If there is a gap between what you want to do and on the right side what you cannot do, you get demotivated. You feel, look, I'm not up to the mark. If there is a gap between what you want to do and what you're supposed to do, you get dissatisfaction. You never are happy in that job, either as an employee or as an entrepreneur. And if you are not supposed, if you whatever you are supposed to do, you're not able to do compared to what you cannot do, you get frustrated. Every day, every time you go to your boss and say, boss, this is what we could do. He said, no, just stick to your job. You get frustrated. This is true for, again, being an employer and entrepreneur. I will tell you, in my entire life, I have never bought a laptop for myself. The day I started on my own, about 4 years ago, next day, this day, today ended, and next day I'm on my own. I didn't have a laptop. I was asking my partner, so what do we do from tomorrow? He said, you have to buy a laptop. I said, I've never bought a laptop. He said, yeah, now you have to start doing that. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have to do everything. And that's where the differences come. So what are those parameters then? Salary, working hours, guarantee, sickness, I'll explain some of them, leaves, backup, titles, career, risk, stress, social positioning, development of your career. All this, under this, you need to make decisions about designation, branding, perks, etc. Now, these are some of the key parameters, these 15 parameters, which differentiates your preference of being an employee or an entrepreneur. This is perhaps the most important slide you need to remember or make a note. In an employee's world, salary is fixed. Whatever happens, 30th or whichever date, their account is credited. Working hours are fixed. Okay. With an entrepreneur, both of them are not fixed. I'm an entrepreneur, I have been an employee. Till I earn my money, till somebody releases money, I don't have money in my account every month, end of the month. There is no guarantee. As an entrepreneur, I have no guarantee that this month I will earn the same as last month or next month will be the same as this month. No guarantee. But as an employee, you have the guarantee. Unless your salary changes, it is fixed. You get the same money. Sickness. To be very frank, I'm sick the last 2-3 days with cold. Okay, if you notice, I'm wearing a sweater. It's not that cold, but I'm not well. As an entrepreneur, I cannot say no. I don't have a concept called sick leave, which is the next topic. Whether I'm sick or whether I have to attend somebody's function, I have to shut shop. I have to do something else. I have to manage. As an employee, you can take leave. You have 20 days leave or whatever that is, right? You need to have a backup, which you have in a company, because you work in different bigger companies, you have different sizes of backup. As an entrepreneur, if you don't create backup, there is no backup. Titles. Yeah, an entrepreneur is everything. If the maid doesn't come, you have to open the door and mop the floor. Yeah, so be it. Career is you're still and always an entrepreneur. If you're a CEO, you remain CEO. But in an employee's case, you can become junior engineer, senior engineer, blah, blah, blah. I'll show that in a minute. Risk I talked about. Salary and risk are connected. Maybe the business grows. Who knows? If it grows, you can make more money than an employee. If it doesn't, you have the risk. Because of that, you have stress. Because constantly you are thinking whether it is going to work this month or not. Who is my client who is going to pay me money? Remember, clients don't pay money because you are running an entrepreneurship or a startup. Clients pay money because they are interested in what you do. They need that overlap between what you do versus what they need should be bigger. Socially, it can be very challenging. Many times you might not be able to make it to your family functions if you're seriously working in your startup. But as an employee, you can always work from home or whatever is possible. Development, you have to take care of your own development as an entrepreneur. As an employee, your development is spent by your L&D team of your company. Designation, you can get changing designations and fancy visiting cards, which you also have to make yourself. Branding, yeah, I used to work for Philips, and everybody takes a bow when you work for Philips. Okay, we made the world's first flat TV. I was the architect for that. So huge branding. There's a lot of perks that come with it. One of my companies I used to work with used to make home appliances. So one of the perks was I used to get the trial run products to test at home, or I get some discount if I'm working for that company. There could be many more that you could think of, but these are many things that you need to think about. That's why I kept repeating that don't rush. If you want to, I'm not saying if you're clear, go ahead. I'm just saying make sure you have answers for all this. Now the skills are also different. Leadership skills, strategy skills, marketing skills, negotiation skills are very important for an entrepreneur. They may not be so important for an employee, depending on which role you are in. You need to know how to manage conflicts as an entrepreneur. You need to understand your customers because there is no marketing department in a big company, like in a big company. Regulation, if somebody says you have to follow GST tomorrow, you have to do tax deduction tomorrow, you need to understand. There is a change in tax filing. You need to understand. You need to manage everything as an entrepreneur. You have to administer everything. If you have people above a certain number, you have to pay PF. And if you have to get a PF number, you have to get it done. Maybe your CA will do it, but now you have to put a CA in place. Okay, etc., etc. Money. You need to know how to handle money. Money is not in and out. It's not digital. There is a rate of change of money that comes in and goes out. For example, if you do a work for some company, they take 60 days to pay you money. Okay, in 60 days you get nothing. So you need to understand how to manage money. Ambiguity. Should I pitch to this customer or not? Should I do this work or not? There, as an employee, it's very clear. As an entrepreneur, it's not so clear. Ownership. If it doesn't work, it's yours. If it works, it's yours. In that company, the big boss is the owner. That's how people behave, right? Society treats you differently if you're an entrepreneur and if you're an employee. I mean, on the lighter side, I got many youngsters coming to me, sir. My parents are looking a girl for me, and they're all asking, "What is startup?" Because the father-in-law is an old timer and he doesn't know what is a startup. I said, it doesn't matter whether it's an old timer or not. If you're not able to explain, it's your problem, right? So society has its own. Managing society is a skill by itself. For that, you need to know your type. On the y-axis, your ability to be creative and innovative. On the x-axis, your general management skills, GM skills. How do you understand business know-how, networking? Again, I go back to organizing this event. It's a little bit of organizing things. It's a business know-how. Okay, both of them have high and low score. If both of them are low, you are like a promoter who puts in money, like a movie producer. They don't know neither how to write a script nor how to act, but they know how to spot good movies, right? If you are high on business skills and low on creativity and technology, you can be manager because your actual work is getting done by individuals and you're getting the work done through them. If you're high on creativity and technology and low on business management and skills, which is a very typical nature of engineers, you can be an innovator. but you can be an entrepreneur if both of them are high, because you need to create and you need to manage. Okay, it's a combination of the two black boxes, which is the entrepreneur that is there. Again, is to give you an indication of what kind of natural box you belong to. It is not that you are fixed into one box your entire life. To make it easier for you, I always told myself I can never be an entrepreneur. I always told myself, no, you never. But actually, after being an entrepreneur, I understand that perhaps I'm better suited here, or I can also operate here. Okay, so don't be under the impression that you are fixed. You can move around, but you should know how. Now, a couple of slides to understand what is the difference between these two. X-axis is responsibility. Responsibility. Suppose, imagine you are a bakery owner. You're the sole guy in the bakery. You have opened the bakery. Okay, suddenly you want to go somewhere. Can you just go? No. So should you leave the shop open and go? Maybe. You close the shop and go? Maybe. Now I come to buy bakery stuff. Shop is closed. So now I don't know next time when you're open, when you're. So responsibility as an owner, as an entrepreneur is an extremely important parameter. Freedom is how can I still be responsible, but still be freedom. Now, in that bakery, I have an assistant. When I have to step out for an emergency, I leave him or her and go. No, I have freedom, but I'll never shut shop. Okay? That is the difference between. So as an employee, early in your career, you have quite a low responsibility. One day, if you don't appear, the whole company won't collapse. As an entrepreneur, it can collapse. Then when you grow a little bit later in career, your responsibility increases. You are managing a team maybe, etc., etc. Your freedom also increases because you have people to get your work done. You might get some delegation thing going on and stuff like that. If you're a very own firm, early, like I said, everything is yours. If you don't file tax, it's your responsibility. If you don't pay your CA, it's everything is. If you don't pay your phone bill, it's your responsibility. For me, coming from vice president of a company to an entrepreneur was the biggest jump that I can think of. Everything was taken care of for me as a vice president. And the reverse, I had to do everything for myself. Later in the career, you might have more freedom, but your responsibility will never go down. Right? So understand this importance as well. The second one, when you see it in terms of designation, because usually you are looking at, when you go to placement, a trainee engineer or a junior engineer, both are low. As you go to a project lead, higher responsibility, slightly more freedom. Program manager, more responsibility. By the way, origin is not zero, okay? So you always have responsibility. CEO, very high responsibility, very high flexibility as well, freedom. Like I said, a startup founder will remain in this range forever. He might have a couple of more people to get his job done. He can never. That's one of the reasons somebody asked me when I was vice president, is it your ambition to become CEO of a company? I said no. They were surprised. They said, we think you can become, why do you not want to become? He said, as a CEO, I cannot switch off the phone. But as an employee, I can switch off the phone. Right? So there is a difference between the two. Now, there is another set of variables you need to consider between being an employee and an entrepreneur. Wealth and growth of wealth versus security and certainty. When Dr. Subramanian Swamy was teaching in Harvard, his class had some 18 people and about 12 of them were Indians. At the end of the course, he asked them, how many of you are going to take option a job, which gives you guarantee of salary, B, entrepreneurship, which gives you an opportunity to grow wealth. Okay, entrepreneurship, when done well, is always higher in wealth than otherwise. All the 12 Indians chose option A, which is a guarantee of a job. And of the 6, there were some Native Americans, etc. All of them chose entrepreneurship. So he was asking Dr. Subramanian Swamy about these 12 Indians, why did they choose? They said the guarantee, in other words, the security is what they were looking for. So if you are looking for security, it is like fixed deposit. It will give you 4% interest. If you want risk, you have to find in stocks and shares. It will give you 30, 40, maybe 2000% growth. But it's a risk. Risk and reward goes together. Don't expect high reward with low risk. It does not exist. Low risk with high reward does not exist. It commensurates with risk and reward. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, your ability to grow wealth is very high, but the security and certainty is reasonably low. You have to do a lot of things well to get it right. As an employee, your ability to become very wealthy is limited, but it is a guarantee, high level of guarantee and certainty that you'll keep getting your salary, I think, unless you screw up in your job. Okay. Now, the risk versus reward, what I touched upon earlier, is high risk, high reward for an entrepreneur. And you can imagine where it is quite low risk, quite reasonably medium reward for an employee. These are all that's why I said there is not a fixed binomial answer to this. You need to understand. So how do they compare? Employment helps you how to manage a living. Today I got a message like you might also have got on WhatsApp, I get 40,000, I give 26,000 to EMI, 10,000 to parents, 3,000 rent, I got 1,000. So in other words, you make a living, but entrepreneurs help you manage life. Sometimes you know how to take risk. How do you trust people? I have lost so much money sometimes trusting people, but that's my natural tendency to trust people first. Employment is about what you can do. Entrepreneurship is about what all you can do. Don't confuse the two statements. Many times we think this is what we can do. My own example, I told you, I thought I can never be an entrepreneur. But till you do, you can't, be sure. Employment is when you give a piece of yourself. You remember the Venn diagram? The time part is what you give. There are many other skills of you that you don't give. As an entrepreneurship, you give yourself completely, whatever it takes, right? Employment in rough terms equals time. You are giving your time value of life. As an entrepreneur, you are giving your energy part of your life. Huge difference. Time is the curve, energy is the area under the curve, if you want to use a mathematical terminology. What you should try, my recommendation, do a role model reflection. Role model means it need not be some hi-fi Elon Musk or anybody. It can be your father, it can be a professor, it can be your neighbor, it can be your bakery shop. Have you ever seen one tea shop, one small shop in your area going bust? Rarely. So he's a very smart entrepreneur. He's done his job properly, which shop to put, where to put, how much to invest, everything. So you can take role model as you wish, and you can take more than one role model. But understand why a person is your role model. What is it that you like in him? You can like three different things in three different people. I might like the humility in Tendulkar. I might like the emotional balance of my maid. Right? The emotional balance the maid has in my house is extremely high. You have to experiment, even if it is part-time. As an engineer, when I was your age, I just joined my job, but I still wanted to try and experiment. So I attended an interview for advertising. I'm an ANC engineer. I was passed with distinction at that time, but I attended an interview for being in advertising. Okay, I still think I'm in the wrong job. So the guy finished the interview in like 2.5 minutes, because the first 3 questions were, what is my name, blah, blah, blah. Then he asked me what I have studied. I said ENC. He said, how much did I score? I said distinction, 78%. I'm talking about 1992. 78% had value. He said, you can leave. I said, why? I want to join your company in the advertising world. He said, no. First of all, this won't keep you happy, because you will see your colleagues getting more money. Okay, and you will leave. So don't waste my time. So I was very unhappy and dissatisfied. I joined an advertising company. I used to go after my work, because they work almost 20 hours a day for free. So you have to try and experiment. If you want to do something, try part-time. Give it for free, because you are getting an experience. Okay, you will understand what you think and what it is actually. Okay, they are very different things. I think I can do this and I have done this are two different things. Third thing is, always be sure, what do you bring to the table? What is it that you do so well? Everybody does many things today. What is it that you do so well? One of my experienced friends called me about a year ago. He was an employee, very low risk taker. He called me up in a morning and asked me, Koushik, I want to become a consultant. How much can I earn? I said, don't waste my time. Please keep the phone down. He asked why. I said, it's a very ridiculous question you're asking. One, nobody will pay you because you want to be a consultant. Two, nobody will hire you even if you're a consultant because you offer something. Remember, what you offer is what they should need. Now it's still not enough. There is an overlap, but are you doing that part so well that you're in the top 3? So why you is because you do that so well. Why are we consulting to all those big companies that I showed you about innovation is because we do that so well. We bring that value to the table which many others cannot, right? So you should know that yourself. This is a very simple way to understand this. When people ask you to introduce yourself, we always give, I'm so and so, I'm studying in Shastra University, I'm in third year student, blah, blah, blah. That is not who you are. That is not what you bring to the table. You should tell what is it that is unique about you, which is very good about you. Okay. And last but not least, what is it that you want to grow? I'm not a person who says make a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I want to be CEO in 25 years, blah, blah, blah. No. Understand, I want to have more responsibilities. It's a good goal. I want to be a vice president is a good goal, but it is not something I say, I want to be in this position. You are not restricting yourself because maybe you get something better. What do you want to do more? You should understand. I want to manage people. I want to manage technology. I want to manage projects. I want to manage society. Make yourself clear what is it that you want to do more of. For that, you should know what do you want to do, which is the previous point. Now, when you do something well is when you like it. There is no other way. If you observe air hostess, their smile is the worst smile in the world. They are asked to smile. Very few give you a genuine smile because that's not what they want to do well. Right? Now, last but not least, what not to do. Do not start jobs. In fact, maybe change jobs also because you're not sure what to do. I get a lot of counseling discussions. I want to join this company. Why? My friends are joining. He said, so your friends will jump from a cliff, will you? So this mixing up friends and your journey of your personal realization in life is the biggest mistake. I'm a pro youngsters guy. Okay, don't get me wrong. But I'm also one who warns them the traps. Many of you are in the trap that, being pally and combining fun and friendship with everything that you do is not the right thing to do. So do not do something because you're not sure. Try to spend time to be sure what you do. Sleep less. Watch less movies. Have less parties. Enjoy less till you find out what is it you're looking for. As a kid, when you and me were in the age of playing, Edison used to sit in the train and print newspapers before the next station arrived. That's what made Edison, not that he was a God-given gift of doing something. He put his bloody effort to make everything that he made himself into. You should do the same. Sleep 3 hours. Last month, I met a person. He is my role model for one of the things about how to look for opportunities. He works in midlife, the medical store chain. His duty is from morning 7 to afternoon 1 o'clock. This is a real case. At 1 o'clock, he goes. He comes back at 6 o'clock and at 9 o'clock, he goes again. So what is the time gap he has between 1 and 6 or between 9 and 7 in the morning? You know what this boy has done? He must be probably in his late 20s. While going out of the shop, there was a lady who has kept this footpath for ironing. He has inquired her how much load she has and found himself an opportunity saying, if she can take more clothes for ironing, because as one person she can only do X number of things, that with him she could do more and he could share a part of that income. This is commitment. These are the people who will grow to stretch themselves when they can, right? So till you are not sure what to do, don't do, and definitely not start a job or something for the money. It might be very, let's say, not the thing you wanted to hear, but that's not my job. My job is to tell you what you should hear, right? And this is the worst thing I have never ever negotiated a salary for my job in my 26 years. Never ever. In fact, one of the companies, when they offered, I said, I will sign it. So they asked me, don't you want to negotiate? I said, look, I have told you what I do well. if you are hiring me for that, I expected that you are doing what you are doing also well. Let me give another example for the pay part. When I got a job in Singapore, I did not know what salary to ask. Okay, I asked a salary X. After going there, I understood it was a lower salary. Still, I didn't say a word. I only focused on how to do my job better. But to my surprise, the day I landed and ended in the office, the day I joined, I have not done 1 hour of work. The first meeting, they raised my salary by 25%. And the next year, they raised it by 50% because they were doing their job well. Now, that's what I say. It might look very, for the youngsters, it might look very strange, but this is the truth. Just think like this. You want somebody to fix the plumbing in your house, a tap or a toilet or a washroom or something. He asks for certain money. And you think he is asking either high for the work or more for the quality of his work. Will you call him again? The same thing happens to you. They might pay you, they might take you in, but if you see the black curve of the employee, it will flatten much sooner than what I showed. So never do these two things on your before you start. Now, if you're not sure, and not for the pay. And never ever do this, that, not me too. Why? Because everybody is doing. Everybody is trying to become a data scientist. So I will also become. I hate maths, but I will become a data scientist. You can never be a good data scientist if you hate maths. Right? I'm just giving an example, but whatever it is, people ask me, why do you want to do MBA? Why do you want to do IAMK program? Why do you want to do PhD? You know so much. I said, that's not my point. And sometimes you don't have to convince people. You have to do it for yourself. I used to joke because an astrologer told my mother, this boy won't, when she showed my horoscope, that I won't study much. So I should joke people that I'm doing my PhD to prove him wrong. It doesn't matter. You don't have to prove anyone anything. But that same thing means you don't have to follow anyone for anything either. So we have written some books. I have a book on cartooning. I have a book on codes. We have a book on innovation. We have a TEDx talk. We have a Udemy course. Feel free to explore and see how we could become yourself. And thank you so much. This is what I wanted to share today. Hope it gave you an idea of what you could do.